Speaking of Buffalo, let's talk about the Colorado Buffaloes.
Yes.
Let's talk about the Colorado Buffaloes.
Colorado Buffaloes came out swinging yesterday.
Swinging.
Stop. Gary's talking all this trash. In the comments in our group chat, our chat group that we got going on. He was talking a lot of trash on Coach Prime.
He was talking trash post game. Didn't like his post game interview.
No, I'm with his post game interview. I like it, but I don't like him attacking reporters. That's what I take it as him calling them out one by one, saying, "Do you not believe this? Do you not believe that?"
But if it was a specific reporter, is it not fair to say, "Hey, you counted me out"?
Dude,
when they calling him out in their press.
Like why is it acceptable?
The reporter is doing his job. These reporters probably make $50,000 a year,
and the coach is doing his job by answering the questions.
If you wrote an article, that's what you're supposed to do.
If you wrote an article about me,
you're supposed to critique. That is the job.
100%
to critique,
and you should be able to take criticism. If you were wrong, and
Deion should be able to take criticism.
He should, but he proved them wrong. Did he not?
He won. So they were 20-point underdogs.
If you write an article about me coming to a new school, you basically you call my bluff on anything I'm able to do. I come out swinging. I beat the shit out of. I don't beat the shit out of the team, but my son breaks a school record, and I put up good numbers. I'm going to say y'all were wrong. Like what's wrong with doing that?
He can say that to other coaches, to other players. I don't see a problem with that. But to say it to a reporter specifically, that just don't jive with me, man. That's the only thing.
I think it's fair.
That's the only thing.
I don't think you should be able to write bad things about me and me not be able to address them directly to you.
No, it's not. They're not writing bad things about.
But some reporters do.
Whoa. They're not writing.
Some reporters do.
Maybe some reporters do, but
look at what Stephen A. Smith says sometimes on First Take, bro. You think that I can't address what he says to me directly in front of millions of people?
No, you can.
So what? So then why call me out on it? You can't have it both ways.
Is the criticism valid?
No. Not when I proved you wrong.
He's not. They're not attacking him personally. He
didn't attack him back personally.
No, he didn't attack him back personally. But
he just kept it real.
What you're talking about is personal stuff.
But he kept it a
We're
buck.
talking football.
Exactly.
They write about football. They critique the players. The football players, they critique the football coaches. They keep it football. So if you talking about like Stephen A. or any of those other analysts talking about things that cross over into their personal lives, then that's just a whole different realm.
But let's
he said, "Do you believe now?" Anyways, but let's talk about the game. Enough about Coach Prime.
I mean, we're gonna talk about Coach Prime, but the game itself. It was very impressive, man. No, because these first weeks in college in D1, big college football, it's supposed to be layup games, and this was actually supposed to be a layup game for TCU.
Yeah. Well, and TCU is supposed to be top dog in the Big 12 right now. I mean, pretty much. I mean, they are the last year they were a favorite in the postseason, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, I think he shocked the world, but I also think that he lived up to the expectation too. It was like. Are we surprised? I'm not surprised.
I mean, coming over from HBCU where most people think that the competition is limited, but he definitely brought it. He's a heck of a coach. You can see that. He does have top talent on his team.
Absolutely.
So that that obviously helps. But at the same time, TCU is ranked 17 in the country. Colorado obviously not ranked at all.
They will be after this week.
And they were.
I don't think they will.
Probably. And they were 20-point underdogs.
Yeah. Imagine throwing some bread on that.
Obviously, it wasn't a perfect game.
No.
For either team. It was 40-something, 46, 40. I don't know. It
showed 45 to 42.
It showed you what the Big 12 is. It still lacks a lot of defense.
Yeah.
I think he's got some good players out there on the defensive side of the football, but they gave up a ton of big plays as I watched that game. But offensively, they pretty much held it together. I mean, Shedur was damn near perfect.
Yeah,
I mean, he was
damn near
perfect.
He is the front runner for Heisman.
They have 2 Heisman candidates on that team.
Yeah,
without a shadow of a doubt. I think that they will both be in the crowd when they hand out that award.
I don't know how much Hunter can play.
Yeah.
This 110 snaps a game, that is a lot. I mean, that is a lot.
That's a lot.
It might not seem like a lot when you're watching the game, but
starting both sides of the ball, that's a lot.
Right. There's guys in the league and in college who, might do 50, 60 snaps. And that's, and then they're in the ice tub after a game.
Yeah.
110 playing both sides and being active on both sides.
Not only being active, but he's a dog. Like he proved why he's the number 1 recruit in the nation. Yeah. Yesterday. I mean, he should have had 2 picks. He had 1 pick. He should have had 3. 2 at least. Was it 3?
There was one in the one at the back of the end zone that his foot was out, and then he dropped one.
Yeah, and he
had one. He could have had 3 picks.
He dropped a very long touchdown pass. I seen that.
Did he?
Yeah, but I think he caught it, but as he fell, it bounced out of his hands and he re-caught it. So it was kind of one of those scenarios.
Oh,
he was out of bounds.
It was deep. I want to say it was like 50 yards.
But I mean, the kid I think had 11 receptions, like around 120 yards.
So that just shows you how good of a game Shedur had.
Yeah,
because I seen a good 4 or 5 drops.
Yeah,
and the dude.
They said half of his incompletions were drops. Exactly half.
And he only threw like
under 30 attempts. I think
6 or 7. No, he was 38 for 47.
Yeah, he had.
Okay.
No,
he had a couple dumps though. I mean, I think two of those plays were like 2-yard screens that went for 70 yards. Yeah. But I mean, to break there's
but for an NCAA debut,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
80% completion percentage,
break a school record. You go out and you win the game. You come back and win the game.
You see what they said at the end of the game? They said all last year they had 1 receiver in 1 game catch over 100 yards.
I believe
in this game they had 3 receivers go for over 100 yards. Like
they had a lot of guys show a lot of promise.
Yeah. And he's spreading the ball around. He looked like an NFL quarterback.
He did. I wish he would use his feet a little bit more. He took a couple sacks, and I feel like he tried to extend plays. I also saw that Colorado didn't capitalize. Like they honestly probably could have won that game by 2 or 3 scores. But they didn't capitalize on those turnovers. Like they had the pick in the end zone. They didn't score on that drive. I think they had another pick. They didn't score on that drive. So little things like that. But if I know anything about Coach Prime, he's going to talk about that. I mean, I think he wants to win games by more than 3 points.
I think he's proven what he said. He said earlier this year, I saw an interview of him talking about, to him, the only difference between HBCU and Power 5 is the front line. He said the athletes are still good. The athletes are still top tier athletes.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think he proved that yesterday because that the offensive line played pretty good.
Yeah.
They kept Shedur relatively clean. I think they had 1 sack. I think they kept him relatively clean.
Well,
standing up in the pocket.
Some of the greatest athletes have come out of HBCUs. Yeah. I mean, Shannon Sharp. I mean,
there's a ton.
there's a lot of guys that came out of that.
Did Jerry Rice go to HBCU?
I was getting ready to
say that HBCU?
I know Michael Strahan did.
And then Tennessee Chattanooga.
There's quite a few people.
Yeah, there's
and then Randy Moss didn't go. He went to Rand University.
Rand University. But no, like the thing about Travis Hunter though is I don't know how long he can do. He's going to have to choose, in my opinion. He's going to have to choose which side. But like, what do you do? Like, does he choose while he's in? Because he's still got another year until he can declare for the draft.
I don't think he has to choose right now. I think that he can be utilized as a collegiate athlete. I think eventually they're going to have to start considering in specific games different types of setups for him. Rather than like
packages.
Different packages for him. Like I think if you're Deion Sanders, you 100% want him on the defensive side of the ball. And to be honest with you, the way that offense was playing yesterday, like, Travis Hunter was a dog, but there's a lot of other guys that make great plays. So it's like you don't necessarily have to have him in on every single drive.
But we don't know that yet.
Yeah, we don't. That was one game.
The thing is, like, is he – you have to figure out what you're most valuable as. Is he too valuable of a receiver to play defense? Or is he too valuable of a corner to play receiver?
I think the latter. I think there's a lot of guys. You can find people to do what he can do is on the offensive side of the ball. It's very rare to find somebody with his talent on the defensive side of the ball.
And it's not even his talent, it's his instincts as a cornerback. Like watching him play yesterday, that pick he had in the end zone, Like the way that he broke on that route, like he saw that coming from a mile away. It's like he watched that film and knew exactly where that ball was going to be placed. He was I don't think he was playing on the inside. He was playing over the slot, and he came across and took that. I mean, I'm like, so the kid is talented.
That's what I'm saying. When you talk about value, I think he's more valuable. Even though it sounds crazy, even though he still went off with 100 yards, and he's going to have multiple 100-yard games on the offense side of the ball, but he is still more valuable on defense, in my opinion, than offense.
I think just when you look at the game, like you would rather have a guy that can shut down one half of the field than a guy that's going to go out and give you 110 yards a game.
But I will say this, to have two of those guys on the same team, one of them quarterback and the other one is, skill position player, whatever you want to call them.
And then have two other wide receivers that went off. I mean, what was the kid? I think his last name was Edwards. I think that was his name.
The running back?
He had like 135 yards.
Yeah.
So I mean, like he would like I was saying, Travis Hunter wasn't even the leader in receiving yards.
Oh, that was
which is crazy.
Is it Hunt or something like that? Was it Hunt? That was the other receiver. He went off too. Man, it's gonna be a fascinating year. I think he's a shoot. Maybe not Heisman, because it is hard for a corner to get a defensive player to get Heisman. Defensive player alone corner, but that Jim Thorpe award, he's a shoe-in. He'll get it because that goes to the best DB in college football, and he will get that Jim Thorpe award. I mean, could you? I don't know, but it might be somebody else that come up.
I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but it's
I mean, because Alabama,
the future looks bright for him. I think
Alabama has had a few guys because they produce corners like crazy, but I mean, I don't know, man.
He proved yesterday in his debut that he is one of the best corners in the nation. Now I don't know how long that's going to last throughout the season, but as of week 1, he proved like, hey, I'm him.
Yeah.
And it's also when was the last time this ever happened? I mean, they had 4 receivers go for over 100 yards. 4.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Like 4. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like 135, 119, 118, 117.
That was game 1. They only had one. They only had one all of last year. Just one game last year.
They were,
and Travis Hunter didn't even score a touchdown. I mean, this one kid.
They were a bad team. They might have won 2 games last year.
This kid,
they won one game.
That kid Edwards. Kid Edwards went 5 for 5 for 135 yards and 3 touchdowns. I feel like he at this point, because that team is so good, he's almost being undervalued in conversations because of like how good everybody else is around him. 5 targets for 5 receptions for 135 yards and 3 touchdowns, and his longest was 75 yards.
Here's a question.
That's crazy.
Do you think TCU laid back? You think they knew? I think you kind of had to know.
I don't think.
You know how people come in not fully prepared for their opponent or knowing how good their opponent is.
No, I don't think any head coach in the Big 12 thinks that Deion Sanders is a slouch.
No, I don't think they think he's a slouch. I think when Deion comes on the schedule, they want to put up 100 points.
Yeah, for sure.
They want to show that this is our league, or this is this is our place to be. And Deion's always in the news, and they want to show off. Yeah. I think they circle that week.
And I mean, honestly, like, not to take away from Colorado, but TCU didn't look that bad.
No,
they just had the worst quarterback, but I mean, he made a lot of good plays. I mean, and they ran the ball extremely well. That was one thing Colorado couldn't do yesterday.
I think that defense, they need to figure something out, because honestly, TCU didn't impress me that much talent wise, because they lost a lot of pieces from last year. I think they had 3 returning starters on offense or something like that.
Maybe
they didn't really super duper impress me like the other night. But so when they go against some tougher opponents on offense, I'm a little scared for Colorado.
I think it's a lot of small tweaks to this. I mean, this is basically an entirely new bunch of kids that have never played together. They've never nobody was on that's on that team this year that's starting was on that team last year. I mean, literally, the transfer portal is Colorado University. So I mean, like, he's got.
Sorry, keep going. Sorry, I'm cutting you off. I didn't mean.
No, go ahead.
I'm a bad.
What you got?
Bad guy on a podcast. Anyways, let's talk about that though. I want to talk about that just real quick. Okay. I know we're going a lot long in this segment, but
what's up?
The whole transfer portal issue, that was a large topic of conversation back in April, May.
Yes,
when he cut 50 guys and brought in about 50 to 60 guys. Also, And I think, and was it you two criticizing him?
Well,
I think a lot of people criticized him.
To be fair, he didn't cut those guys. He basically said, "You're not gonna play." That's basically what
it's the same fucking thing.
But a part of me didn't. I mean, a part of me, I still didn't appreciate the way he went about it. I mean, I get what you're saying, but you can't sit here and say like you can't sit here and say like everybody's going to compete, and then before you even start training camp, we already got our quarterback. Then that's not everybody's competing, dog.
Yeah,
like you know what I'm saying. Like I get that, and he proved that he is the starter and should be the starter, but. Like at the end of the day, like he didn't allow guys to actually compete for positions. He brought in guys and basically said, "This is what I'm doing." Which it's a business. I get it.
He could go undefeated this year. That doesn't change the fact that I feel like he went about the whole transfer thing the wrong way. I don't.
And to be honest with you, I don't really like the transfer portal that much because at this point in college sports, it hurts the high school athletes, the guys that want to make it to the next level because. 9 times out of 10, if I can grab a guy from Alabama that's 22 that's been playing for 2 years, I'm going to take him over this top 10 linebacker in Kansas City or wherever else he might be.
I don't know about that.
But a lot of these coaches will. Maybe not top 10, but like a guy who's I'm going to take a kid who's experienced that's actually been out there. Let's say Alabama playing SEC football. Like he's going to come in and he's not going to have to make a ton of adjustments to be on this team and to be a star potentially.
Well, you can still
you've got guys that are just Imagine playing for CU, like some of these kids, man. You've been there for 2 years. This is your year. This is your year to be the tight end, the quarterback, the running back, whatever, the corner. And all of a sudden, now this new guy's coming in, and he ain't even got to wait. Like he can play immediately. So that there is a little bit of a
because he's better.
Yeah, but I'm saying it doesn't. It allows teams to stack to a degree.
I get that, but there's also a respectability thing, and just kind of like what we were talking about earlier. Like you let these kids go, but set them up. First, they're still 18, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah, they're kids.
Set them up for something.
You're talking about the not giving the film thing.
Give any coaches out there?
No.
Any coaches out there, give these kids film.
Because you
give
can't
these kids their tape.
Because you're backtracking on everything you say of who you are as a coach, as a person, and how much you care about these kids if you are not allowing them to go succeed somewhere else. It's one thing to say, hey, it's not going to work out between us because I got some dogs coming in here, but I want you to go play somewhere. Like, bro, it's like,
and
like,
what if
this game film ain't gonna like teams have game film, bro. Like every team has game film that they watch like every week.
And even if it's practice film, it's just highlights. It's just that person running routes or that person doing tackling drills, or it's not.
But you act like it's a GoPro. Like they're seeing everything though. So
no, here, Brandon, it's not. It's that person's tape. Everybody not getting the same tape.
Yeah, sure.
No. This is what I
if it's 707
from what I understood it was some of that they wanted some practice film and they wanted some spring game films which are offenses that they were going to putting in the fall.
But let me ask you
so if they see that if
no, they got game film too available.
Let me ask you that though. Dion was a first-year head coach with an entirely new coaching staff. How was training a scrimmage game from the previous season going to affect this year?
That's not what I was told. That's not what I've read. What I've read is that these kids specifically asked for spring and practice film.
And what's the issue?
Yeah, what is the issue?
Because it's from a competitive standpoint. Like, if you go to a competitor that we're playing this year, they can look and see what we're putting in play for this next year.
It's not that deep.
You don't think that deep. Let me ask you this.
I think it is. I think it is.
You don't think that player can just show up and say, "Hey, I know exactly what they're going to run on the offense." You don't think guys do that in the NFL all the time?
I think they do, but it's one thing saying it and seeing it.
But you're going to see it come week one. Week one, every coach in the Big 12 has now watched.
Hey, week one we playing against Deion Sanders. Let's watch every single Jackson State game for the last 2 years.
No, I mean they're going to do that too. They're going to do that too
because it's available.
But he has a whole different offensive coordinator too than he had at Jackson State.
Okay, and guess what? Next year everybody will have 12 games worth of film.
No.
Yes, it's right there. You don't believe me? You can go back on ESPN and record the game. And you can watch the shit.
They will continue to implement other things. I do not, and I've read and seen talks from other even pro guys that say that when they was in college, it did not work that way. Like you didn't always get your
well,
game
and that's what I'm saying. You should.
Pac-Man Jones was talking about it on Pat McAfee.
I get what you're saying, but how do you can't say I want to set you up for success, but I'm not going to give you all the tools to be successful.
Exactly.
Did he say that?
But that's basically what you're doing.
What doing.
If you're
did he say that I want to set you up for success?
But yes, he talks about it all the time. It's my job and my duty to do this for these kids.
At the end of the day, this is what happened. He had a bunch of shit players that he didn't give a damn about. I'm gonna say it because he ain't gonna say it. I'm gonna say it.
But they weren't shit players.
They won one game last year.
But that's also an organizational issue as far as coaching staff goes. They were still D1 athletes. Like they weren't shit kids. I guarantee there was probably some studs on that team.
They were D1 athletes that probably.
But Deion brought in literally everybody that starts on that team is probably top 5 in the nation at one point or another. Top 10 in the nation.
A lot of his players are probably going to be on the next season.
Okay.
Of what was that Netflix series?
Quarterback?
Oh my God!
Bishop Sycamore? Fucking the JUCO program?
Yeah. What was it called? Last Chance U.
Yeah, Last Chance.
A lot of those players from last year are gonna be on Last Chance U.
He didn't even give him a chance to be on Last Chance U. He didn't give him a chance.
No, that was their last chance. He needs to give the boys a film. Every coach out there needs to give them boys.
That's over and done with right now. But
come on.
But let's say what he did, it worked. We can't deny that.
What he's doing is
working. I mean,
but how much have to do with?
I'll also ask
with
this,
the way he went about letting the kids
how much
go.
of what Deion is doing is him as a head coach, or just him as being prime time and saying I can get the best talent to come to me?
He admits that. That's what it boils down to. When I really want a kid, I can. He said something. I'm paraphrasing. He basically said, when I want a kid, I can go sit in the living room with the mom, and she watched me as a kid herself, or as a young adult, and it's like, you going to go play with Coach Prime. Yeah, I mean,
it's a dream for any kid, no matter what position you play, to play for an ex-NFL Hall of Famer.
When you was in high school, if Coach Prime came and sat at your door, then you have other coaches or whatever, but it's going to hit a little different.
But also when I was in high school, we didn't have NIL deals. We didn't have the way that the transfer portal is now. There was a lot of things that were different when I was in high school.
So prime example, #1 recruit in the country. He had to choose between Deion Sanders or Nick Saban.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Deion is more appealing to.
Well, he was a best DB in the country.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you, as the best DB in the country, go play for the best DB ever? That makes sense.
Well, it does in a way, but this is also Nick Saban in Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
But I will say I've heard just from a lot of ex Alabama guys, they say that the way that team is run is not for everybody. They say that
I completely understand
that playing for Alabama is completely different.
Yes.
It's Alabama and it's Georgia.
And
I've heard of the two hardest schools to play for.
And you know who Nick Saban is really good friends with? Bill Belichick.